Hi everyone, welcome to another Matchbook Horse Racing podcast. More Group 1 racing to preview as well. In the form of the King George, a slightly depleted field, sadly, without a couple of Aidan O'Brien runners. The French Raider doesn't go. We found out about an hour and a half ago that Desert Crown isn't going to run either. Great shame. He's had another setback, but nonetheless, still an excellent renewal of the race. And that is where we are going to be starting. The friendly reminder to like and subscribe. It makes it easier for you to digest all of our content across all sports if you like it. Donn, McClean, Charlie Poste are with me, and we are going to get stuck straight into the previews. And we're going to start with the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Kipco Stakes over 1.5 miles. It's a 3:40 at Ascot. Donn, I'll come to you first with August Rodin at 4.5, Hukum 5.0, King of Steel 5.0, Emily Upjohn 7.0, Pile Driver last year's winner 8.0, bigger prices the rest. You going Irish?
No, surprisingly, yeah. Look, I agree with you. It's a hell of a race, and I know we're missing a few, but we were always going to miss a few of the Aidan O'Brien horses. It is a big shame about Desert Crown, but it's still like the King George. It's that, I don't know about you, but King George was the race that I grew up watching in the middle of the summer. And just looking back there yesterday, when I'd forgotten when Enable won her third King George, she beat two rivals. It was a 3-horse race, so we're a long way from that, thankfully. And there's depth there as well. August Rodin, I suppose if he puts up the Epsom performance, then he's the one they all have to beat. Puts up the Curragh performance, then he's very beatable. So it's a case of whether he's going to bounce back from that. King of Steel is really
Donn, very quickly, because you mentioned that, and I'm keen to find out why he was a bit subpar last time. Do you have any line into that?
No, not at all. He just he got it done. It always, I don't know about you watching it, but it always looked like he was going to get the better of Adelaide River, and Adelaide River has since run well in the Grand Prix de Paris, finished second. So in that sense, the form's been upheld. But yeah, you'd think that a performance like that would not be good enough to win this King George. A performance like his Epsom run against King of Steel, that obviously would give him a massive chance, and that brings King of Steel into it, who went on since, and he's won the King Edward Stakes since, so he's has a nice run into the race. He's stepping forward nicely. So look, it's brilliant. The 3-year-olds are there. I just kind of, the older horses are usually my starting point in the King George, because I tend to feel the 3-year-olds are a little bit overrated, or can be, but they're priced up based on their potential, whereas the older horses like Emily Upjohn, top class, and she'll be better over 1.5 miles than she was the last time. Pile Driver, continually underrated. I just think the ground might have gone a bit against Pile Driver. That's why I'm against him. And Hukum, Hukum is the one I like. I just think he's got it all. His form is robust. He's a solid top class horse. I thought his run the last day in the Brigadier George Stakes, I thought he did really well to beat Desert Crown, because he got locked up a wee bit on the far side. Desert Crown got first run on him. Desert Crown was really well fancied. Obviously, he was sent off a 2-5 shot, and I thought Hukum did well to get out after him and stay on as well as he did, and beat him as well as he did. And the pair of them pulled well clear. It was probably a trip on the short side for Hukum. He's better over 1.5 miles. He's got good form at Ascot. He won the Cumberland Lodge Stakes there a couple of years ago on soft ground, and I know the money came from during the week when the rain started to come, which that was understandable. He doesn't need soft ground, but it's definitely ground on the easy side of good is a positive for him, and he can go well fresh as well. It's been a little while since the Sandown run, but he can go well fresh. We know that. It was a shame that he had that setback after the Coronation Cup last year, but he's still a relatively lightly raced 6-year-old, and he's been progressing. Like, he wasn't as good as a 3-year-old, obviously, as he is now. So I just think he's got an awful lot in his favour. The ground, the track, the distance, goes into the race in good form. And yeah, I still think he's a wee bit underrated by the market.
Just on that ground, good to soft in places on Thursday early afternoon off the back of 17 mil overnight. There's not too much more around. I'm expecting good to soft ground, but it could be soft. Who knows? Charlie, I think you and I agree, top of the market.
Yeah, I mean, I just went through them again and again, and I just came down to the fact that, you know, with everything, the Derby performance, you know, he won a Group 1 last year on slow ground, August Rodin. Yeah, he was a bit laboured at the Curragh, but like Donn said, Adelaide River did come out and at least give the form some sort of depth and strength. And I kind of think that Roger Varian's horse had I almost got first run on him at Epsom, King of Steel, and I thought maybe he had him beat, and then I think August Rodin did very well to reel him in. King of Steel then came out and was very impressive at Royal Ascot, but you could argue whether he beat a whole heap, and so I think he still has it to prove up at this sort of elevated level. And with everything that Aidan O'Brien says about him, I just can't believe there isn't more to come from this horse, and with the weight for age allowance and all of that against respected rivals like Hookham, Emily Upjohn, etc. But I still think August Rodin will get this done. I think that Ballydor will make sure it's a decent test, and that there's no excuses. And yeah, I just take him to prove that he's going to be the best of these, especially when you take into account the amount of weight that he's getting off his rivals, Tom, against these very good older rivals.
As Donn says, it tends to take an exceptional 3-year-old if a 3-year-old's going to win it. And my starting point is normally the older horses, but I don't know whether Hookham, and I do like him, but I'm sort of doubting Desert Crown and was coming into it, and therefore I'm slightly doubting Hookham a touch. Who's beaten Pile Driver comfortably, I know, 2 starts back, and then on his reappearance, he did look good over 10, and he was quicker than I thought he was. Emily Upjohn, I'm concerned she won't want much juice in the ground, and I'd prefer it if she had a hood on still. And I think we've got an exceptional colt in the form of August Rodin, who I think wants probably a bit more of a test than he got last time, and I think also he doesn't do much when he hits the front or when he sees the front. I almost thought Epsom suited him ideally when he was produced, so I hope they produce him like that. I quite like the fact that he's drawn 11, and I think Ryan, that's no bad thing over this trip. We'll have to just sit back and a couple wide. I hope there's no testing ground around. I thought at 4.0 now, there's just about enough juice in that price to back August Rodin. Anything to add on the feature?
I mean, the bar, like we said, it's just going to be an absolute cracker, and that I'm fascinated to see how it's going to play out tactically. I think there's so many nuances to it, and yeah, I mean, it's as Donn said, when you think about 3-runner races, this is exactly what this race should be. It's a mid-season cracker, and yeah, I can't wait for it. I really can't.
Like it's exactly that. Like the fact that Westover, the Irish Derby winner from last year, who won a Group 1 race in France last time, is it whatever 14, 16, or 17.0 or thereabouts, like that. In Luxembourg, I was giving Luxembourg a bit of a chance. I was thinking, if he is declared, then he's not out of it either. So, and they're all double figure prices. So yeah,
does he stay a strongly run mile and a half?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like 10, his best run was in the Irish Champion Stakes last season, over 10 furlongs on soft ground. So, maybe the extra 2 furlongs, maybe it's not ideal for him, but like he's only run over a mile and a half once since then. That was in the Arc. So we don't know. I think he might be a wee bit overlooked, but he's drawn in stall 1, and that's a terrible draw over a mile and a half. Charlie mentioned it earlier on. Yeah. Like, you really don't want to be on the inside over a mile, and not everybody has cottoned on to that yet, but it's for years. The outside draw is, people say, it's not so bad, but actually it's a positive to be drawn outside. And actually, I'm a little bit worried about Hookham's drawn stall 4. That's not ideal, but look, I'm sure Jim Crowley will have a plan, and you get out before that. Whatever it is about the draw, maybe going into Swinley Bottom, the ground on the inside is poached or softer than it is further out. But you watch Ryan Murray riding over a mile and a half at Ascot. He's never inside wherever he's drawn. He's always out.
Right, very quickly then, just the name of the horse. I don't need a reason. If you had to have a bet at double figures in the race, Donn, who would it be?
Luxembourg, I'd say.
And Charlie?
I'm going to chuck in Hamish at a massive price.
Okay, I like that. I'd be Westover, even though his trainer says he won't run on soft ground. I think more of the test, the better, because I think he should be a cup horse. All right. Back we go to the 150 then, the Bateau London Princess Margaret Stakes. I'm sitting this one out because I'm not sure what they're going to do with Soprano, who's declared to run today. I'm a little bit, I don't really know, even though I think she would win this. 4.0, Pretty Crystal, 6.0, Symbology, 6.5, double figures, the rest, Charlie Poste.
Yeah, I mean, I saw George Bowie at a cricket match on Saturday, and he just said that they put Soprano in at Sandown late on because when he was looking through the entries tracking, and he said it was an opportunity they couldn't overlook. So I would presume he's going to run today, Tom. But like you say, they have declared him for Saturday's race with Frankie booked. Either way, I think she's a very, very good filly, and she'd take a I think she's 1.9 or something this afternoon, isn't she? Is that right? I think something like that. I mean, and again, you'd think she'd take a lot of beating on Saturday if she turned up. I came down with Symbiology. I have a lot of respect for Richard Fahey's horse, Pretty Crystal, as well, and the Albany form has worked out great. But I just really like the way that this filly, she was stuck out on a wing at York, and it would have been very easy for her to get lost. And she seemed very professional in her way of racing. And then once she got on top, and it took her for a little while to get there, she was really strong at the finish. And I'd have thought this stiffer track will suit her ideally. And with the run under her belt, I just think that there's plenty of upside, and there's a lot more to come. Havana Grey, the sire, I think, she's only really had maybe even one runner on soft ground, which was a winner. So I don't see a reason that the ground should hold any fears for her. And Clive Cox is also going all right at the moment. So yeah, I just thought at a winning place price, she was hard to overlook, Symbiology.
In particular with their 2-year-olds, they are flying that yard. Donn.
Yeah, look, it's kind of strange that Soprano was declared this morning, given that she's in today and Frankie Dettori booked. And if she runs, I think she's a big player in the race. Like the Albany Stakes could hold the key. I'd be a bit worried about Soprano on very soft ground. Like Matrika who finished second in the Albany. She came out and won the early stud stakes of Group 2 race next time. Persian Dreamer, who was fourth, came out and won the Duchess of Cambridge Stakes next time. So it's a very strong race. And Soprano was a wee bit out in the centre. She had to do a lot of running on her own without any cover, but she did well to finish third. I think she'll finish in front of Pretty Crystal. If Soprano is not there, I think Comat is interesting. She ran a big race in the Albany as well. She was in behind early on. She was nearly last in the far side early on, and she stayed on well. She was only beaten 3 parts of a length by Pretty Crystal for 5th. So I think there's every chance she'll reverse placing with Pretty Crystal, who came down the near side, given the fact as well that when she won her novice stakes on her racecourse debut at Redcar, that was on soft ground. So she does a form on soft ground as well. So look, Soprano will be my selection. If she runs, if she doesn't, then Comat will be next best.
Soprano, who is over 7 today, and the only thing I'll add is that I thought last time she looked as though she wanted 7 possibly, but the stiff 6 at Ascot will be fine. And if she does run on Saturday, I think she'll be too good for them, but maybe she won't. We'll see. The Valiant Stakes is up next, 225 at Ascot. Random Harvest is in there at 5.5. Amena is in there at 6.0, having not been seen for 454 days. Cadu Bell is 7.5. Thornbrook is 8.0, and bigger prices the rest. I'll start actually with the 10.0 shot Bativer for PJ McDonald and Andrew Balding, on account that I hope there's going to be a bit of juice in the ground, and there's not a huge amount of pace on either, and I like the fact that she's likely to go forward. A 3-year-old daughter of Twilight Sun, they just tend to improve, these Twilight Suns. Anything they do as a juvenile, they tend to leave behind, and I think she'll be a lot better this season, as in fact she's proved with that win last time at Carlisle. Stepping up to the mile, back up to the mile, I don't think it'll be a problem. Thought she was a fair win and place price anyway, and you'll be able to get out in the run if you want to, because I think she'll trade a bit shorter. Donn.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Johnny Murtaugh's sending Cadu Bell over. He doesn't tend to do that very much unless he there's a reason for it. And Cadu Bell, she's only run twice. She was impressive in winning at Goran Park on soft ground on her racecourse debut. And the Johnny Murtaugh horses, they generally come on for their first runs of the season, and also for the first runs ever, obviously. And then she went to Navan last time and won a listed race. She was impressive winning that day. She came down the near side, and I know there probably was an advantage on the day to be on the near side, but she did, pretty much all her rivals came towards the near side as well, and she just kept on really well to beat Segamia, who came out next time and finished second to Zarinsky in a Group 3 race at Ferryhouse. So that form was working out pretty well. And Gillida as well, who was 4th, she came out and finished 3rd behind Indian Wish in the Cairn Rouge Stakes at Killarney there last week. So the form was working out well. She was a big enough price that day, and we know that she handled soft ground. Ben Cohen isn't riding her. He's going to York, actually, which is interesting, to ride Mashur. But Jerry Spencer's been booked, and that, Jamie Spencer at Ascot. That's massive, even though it is on the round course and not on the straight course. But no, look, we just don't know how good she is. I think she's an improving filly. Johnny Murth obviously likes her enough to send her over. She goes on the ground. The form of her last race, her listed race, is working out well, and she's stepping up into a Group 3 race, which should be within her capabilities. So yeah, I think there's a case to be made for her.
And Charlie.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I mean, I'd add in the fact that I think 3-year-olds have won 6 of the last 10 run-ins of this race as well. And yeah, I mean, I just thought the jump from a maiden at Garin to the Navan win straight up into listed company, and the way that they slotted her in and she came through the field to travel so strongly into it and win with authority, I thought was very impressive. You know, it marked her up that whether it's on Saturday or moving forward, that she's certainly going to make a mark in group company. And I thought that plenty of these were fairly exposed. Like you said, that you got variance horse in there that we haven't seen since the Guineas of last year, that's a potential. But I mean, she's going to have to be very well prepped to be taking this out on slow ground, first start for 465 days. And I just thought Caddo Bell had loads of upside. And like I say, she's definitely a horse that you'd be wanting to have on side moving forward into the future, because she's got a serious amount of potential. And as Don said, Jamie Spencer chucked into the equation as well. There's no negative at Ascot.
The Big Field Handicap is up next. The Moët Chandon International Stakes over 7 furlongs, 27 in it at the moment. I won't give you the prices until we get to them. And Charlie, I'll come back to you first of all. You're with Vaffatino, who is 13.0. Yeah,
as in, crikey, I was struggled with this. I mean, like, it doesn't help when we're not getting the full fields through till about 10:45. But I mean, I kind of went back and forward. I mean, I had a massive amount of respect for the ones at the top of the market. You know, Biggles, I thought was very, very solid. You know, Fresh, you can see as well, has form on slow ground. But again, I was trying to look for slow ground horses that have been running well up to now. And Vaffatino has got great crack form, slow ground, talented £5 claimer booked as well. You know, for this, just to take an extra couple of pound off. Form ties in with Biggles and Northern Express, and is potentially a little bit better off with those two rivals in this race. Drawn slap bang in the middle, Tom. I wasn't really sure. I mean, I don't think Royal Ascot offered a lot of sort of real strong clues about where exactly you want to be drawn. So I kind of was taking it at least in the middle, that there's options of going either side, wherever the speed might be. And I just was looking that maybe the return to slower conditions that this horse acts really well on might just be enough to tip the balance in his favour against rivals that he's been coming up against throughout this season.
Yeah, I sort of feel when it's testing ground, middle to far side is where you want to be, but I'm not going that way, because there's not a huge amount of pace on, and what pace there is seems to be high to me. I completely agree with you that the Biggles and Fresh, unless they're the wrong side, should have it between them, to be honest. But 2 at big prices I want to play. The first one is Safe Voyage, who is very capable of placing off this sort of mark and may well get the run of things, although there might be a couple of pace angles there. But sometimes when there isn't pace on, it's easy enough to stay on the speed. 26.0 I thought was a little bit too big, ran well over course and distance when last seen, and was 3rd in the group that day. So I feel like there's a chance on his favoured easy ground that there's a chance he can place anyway. And the one at a stupid price, 67.0 on the day with Team Match, but you might be able to get bigger than that. Given it's an exchange. Sean D. Bowen taking off 7 for Spirit of Light for Ian Williams. He ran no sort of race 2 starts ago when he was completely the wrong side, and then he dropped back to 6 on quick ground 2 days later, and that was never going to suit in the Wokingham, because he wants more of a test than that. And it might just be he doesn't want rattling fast ground either, because his better form came earlier on the season with a bit of juice in the ground. I followed this horse a few times in Dubai. If he's the right side, is he sort of middle to high? Honestly, that's a crazy price. I'm sort of quite excited that he might be able to nick 4th or 3rd or whoever. Who knows? Safe Voyage, Spirit of Light for me. Dom.
Yeah, well, the one I put up is about a tenth the price of Tom's horse. That was right. But look, funny, we probably had similar lines into this, but like my shortlist included Raffertino and Safe Voyage and Escobar as well, kind of soft ground Ascot horses. But Baradar is the horse I come down on. He ran a big race in the Lincoln on his first run this season. He looked a likely winner running to the inside the final furlong, and he just didn't quite get home. So 7 furlongs, soft ground, suits him really well, and he's got good form with Ascot. He finished 6th next time in the Victoria Cup, and he ran better than that. He was drawn low. He kind of came over towards the near side in behind runners, and then ended up having to move back again towards the far side in order to get a run. I thought he did well to keep on as well as he did to finish 6th. He wasn't that far behind Biggles. He was just ahead behind Safe Voyage. And look, you have to allow him his last run at the Royal Meeting, but that was on fast ground. He's a total soft ground horse. Biggles has enhanced that form since, and Biggles is on, you can understand why he's high in the market. He's running off a £3 higher mark under his £3 penalty from his Bunbury Cup win. And he won that well. It didn't look like he was going to get a run, but once he got out, he picked up well and he won well. He's got good Ascot form as well. But I just think Baradar, you kind of like after the Lincoln, this was well, the Victoria Cup was obviously an obvious race for him, but this is another one, 7 furlongs, and it just happens to be soft ground now, or definitely on the easy side at Ascot. That suits him well. He's a pound lower than he was when he finished 3rd in the Lincoln. He's only £3 higher than he was when he beat Biggles at Doncaster last year on heavy ground as well. So yeah, I think he's got plenty in his favour. He was a bigger price during the week. That's no good to anybody, but it's a bit kind of annoying that he's 7.0, 8.0 now. But I still think
8.0 with cheap pieces on for the first time has shortened up a bit. Ascot done. York we go then for the Jump Jockeys Nunthorpe. I'm not hugely excited by the race per se, but miraculously have found the winner of it a couple of times, and I don't even know how. In fact, I think we've got a half-decent record on the podcast with this race. It's open, and it's 9.0, the field. I'm with Sampa 7, who's one of those at the top of the betting, with the hood and blinkers added. Mick Appleby's in fine form. She just likes to get on with it. And she's drawn 6 out of 19. I think that's as low as you want to be on the straight course. It tends to develop middle to high this year. But I think she'll just rattle on. And one thing I do think about the race is it's not easy. I think you want a jockey on a really fast horse, as you tend to at York, who's just going to stay there. So a small win and place bet on Sampa 7. Charlie?
Yeah, as in, I thought there was a lot of pace low, Tom, and I've gone, if you're saying 6 is as low as you want to be, I've gone 5. So, I mean, I'm hoping that the one low won't make a difference. And
you might be all right. It's just, I think it's tended to develop this season middle to near side.
Yeah. But I can, with Speedicus, David O'Mara's horse. Sean Bowen's been booked. Obviously, he's tearing it up at the moment in the Jump Jockeys Championship. Giving Brian Hughes a real sort of battle. It's going to be very interesting how that develops through the winter. But yeah, this horse was really good at Doncaster last time on slow ground. Ended up racing up the stands rail, but I thought was very authoritative in the end. £4 rise, if he's progressing, won't be enough to stop him, because I think he was rated as high as 85 when he was formerly trained in Ireland, and he certainly had winning form off, I think, at 80 at his highest over there as a 2-year-old. So I thought there was movement in this mark, and like I said, I thought the soft ground over here brought about a very much elevated performance with David O'Mara, and I feel that there is scope to improve, and I'm not surprised that he's tending to strike while the iron is hot with this horse, and yeah, like you say, it's a novelty sort of contest, but again, this horse is ridden close to the pace as well, and hopefully can take a lead off yours and go by that one in through the final furlong.
At 8.0 for Speedicus. Okay, move on to the dash. I know Speedicus was Donn's sort of shout if force.
Exactly what Charlie said.
Yeah, bang, exactly what he said. But I'll come to you first on the next one, because you're officially no bet there, Donn. The 240 at York, again, nice big open contest this, over 6 furlongs. It's the dash. I'll give you prices when we get to them. So Donn, kick us off.
Yeah, look. It's a wide open sprint, this typical wide open sprint at York. But I think Magical Spirit could be overpriced. He's a bit of a leap of faith. He was disappointing last time at Newcastle, but he's got good form at York. He's never won there, but easy ground York, that's a positive for him. He ran well in a handicap there at the May meeting, at the Dante meeting, when he stayed on well towards the far side to finish 3rd behind Bielsa and Lethal Levi. I think Lethal Levi would be a player here if the ground was a wee bit better. The ground would be a wee bit of a worry for him. But I just think Magical Spirit back at York, where he goes so well on soft ground. He's off a rating of 96. He's been dropped a pound since his last run at Newcastle. So he's a pound lower than he was when he had that good run at York. And yeah, I quite like his drawn stall 4 as well. I quite like on the straight track at York, kind of low to middle, like far side as opposed to near side, because you tend to think you can get a run more easily towards the far side than towards the near side rail. And he's a horse that likes to go forward as well. So yeah, like he's just, look, it's wide open. He's not a horse for maximum stakes, but I think he's worth a small investment at a big price.
That is Magical Spirit, who's drawn 4. I am unsurprisingly with a horse that's drawn a bit higher, given what I've said already. Although I do agree, in the past, I like far side, but it's just not seemingly how it's worked out so far this year. Well, my thoughts anyway. Aberama Gold's drawn in the middle. Second start for David O'Mara. Keith Dalglish, obviously excellent trainer, but I'm just hoping that David O'Mara can unlock the key to this horse, who is very consistent, good course and distance form, was unlucky in a few big races here early last season, including one of the Sunday Series races, which are always very competitive. A mark of 88, he's entitled to be there or thereabouts. So Aberama Gold for me. Charlie?
Lucky Man for me, drawn 9. He showed a bit more on his second start back recently at Ascot, finished 3rd there. He was really busy last year, had a decent time of it. He's got good York form, 5 starts at York, a win in 2 places. He dropped 2 pounds since the start of the season. I think he's 2 pounds above his last winning mark, but he's 3 pounds below the mark that he was 4th in the Air Gold Cup on slow ground that last season. And as well, Richard Spencer has really sort of hit form in recent. I think he's had 3 winners from 15 runners over his last couple of weeks. And Andrea at Zini booked as well, which I thought was quite interesting. So Lucky Man, I think he's a pretty big price. So win and place for me.
Okay, Aberama Gold, Lucky Man, Magical Spirit for the team. We move on to the 3:15 at York. My Prospero is 2.7. Alflela is 5.0. Royal Champion 5.0. Mature 7.0. Chicken Challenge 17.0. Who's with my Prospero? Me and you, Charlie. This is my best bet of the week. I think I just worry about Alflela off the back of his injury sustained at Bahrain. I think he's really good. He'd be more of a watching brief. Whereas that race that my Prospero ran in last time, it was a weird race. Mostadaf bolted up, but this horse wasn't too far behind Adayar. He was in front of Bay Bridge. That I think is too good a form for the rest of these. So I'm with my Prospero. What do you want to add?
I mean, not a whole heap. I actually thought a price better than even money. He was a really good bet because like you said, even like the Lockinge form, even last time at Ascot, I mean, it just looks like he should be too good for these. On ratings, it says that as well. And there's an argument that yes, Alflela still has progression and like you say, could potentially be very good as be himself. But I just thought right now as it stands, this horse probably deserves to be a shade of odds on, and I'm surprised he's as big as he is. So yeah, anything better than 2.0, and I think he's a really good bet, my Prospero. And again, Haggis is, as he always is, chugging away and training plenty of winners. I mean, 67% run to form rating at the moment, so no concerns on that ground as well. And Tom Marquand is going up there to ride him, so yeah, I think he's a really good bet, that horse in this quality of race.
Donn, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I think Alflela is worth the risk at the price. Like, I absolutely take your point. It's his first run back since Bahrain, but he does go well fresh. He won on his racecourse debut. He won on his season debut last year impressively, and you just have to take it on trust that he's fit. He's fit to at least start off. He goes well at York. He won the Strensville Stakes last year. He finished second in a nursery in his only other run there as a juvenile, and like, it was fast ground when he won the Strensville Stakes, but it was good ground last time in the Darley Stakes, the last time we saw him at Newmarket. And I just thought he did really well to win that day. He was well back in the field early on. I think he was last going past the 2 furlong marker, or just outside the 2 furlong marker, and he stayed on really well to beat Ottoman Fleet, and the pair of them pulled nicely clear. That was a really good performance, and put that with his York form and the fact that he does go well fresh as long as he's ready to roll, which I'm sure he is. Yeah, I think I know Charlie says he's rated £5 inferior to my Prospero, but I think there could be more to come from him, and I think he could improve up to at least get up to his level.
What have we done to Donn, Charlie? It's a couple of races now. He's just going right against us, isn't he?
He's the judge. That's the worry.
Well, that's the problem.
Well,
that's the concern.
You see, I didn't see yours before I put mine in. That was the problem. Normally, I just follow you in.
That's our 7 races done and preview. We're going to come to any other weekend bets now. Donn, first of all, you've got one good card at Leopardstown tonight, right?
Oh yeah, very good card. Like, it was a good card anyway, but then they put the Minstrel Stakes in. That's rerouted from Sunday at the Curragh, which was washed out, and it's a really interesting race. Like, it's a different race because the ground, like, okay, it's not going to be quick ground or anything like it, but it's not going to be as soft as it was going to be at the Curragh. And it's the same race, the exact same race, except Jumbley is out and Zarinsk is in. I was hoping to back Lord Massasoit for the race on Sunday, and now that Zarinska's in, I think she's a big danger to him. But yeah, I think Lord Massasoit without Zarinsk is the bet. I just think there's more to come from him. His run the last day at the Curragh in a listed race, it was a very, very good run, the Celebration Stakes. He was well back early on. We know all weekend at the Curragh, as is often the case at the Curragh, it was difficult to make ground from the rear. He stayed on well. He just missed out on third place behind Bold Discovery. And look, he's got plenty to find on ratings, but he's a progressive horse. Joe Murphy's been very good in managing him. He's progressed tremendously this season. And Gary Carley rides him and always rides him. He's riding out of his skin. I'd say Gary Carley probably would have had the option to ride the other Ger Lyons horse in the race, Power Under Me. And Colin Keane's obviously riding Zarinsk, but he's staying loyal to Lord Massasoit. And I think he's an interesting horse. I can see Zarinsk getting out in front, and she's got an awful lot in the favour. She loves it here. She goes well on easy ground. 7 Furlongs is probably her optimum trip as well. So, and the fact that it was rerouted from the Curragh to Leopardstown, I'm sure that's positive for her, and maybe that's why Ger Lyons put her in the race. But she's had an extra couple of days as well from the Ferryhouse race, so I can see her running a big race. She's the right favourite, but I think Lord Massasoit is interesting as an alternative.
And Charlie, your other one?
Coldwell in the 4:35 at York. He ran some solid races on the flat for Michael Scudamore previously. He had reasonable enough hurdle form. I mean, last year in May on the flat, he finished 4th behind the horse of no name at York, and that race worked out pretty good as well. The winner, obviously, Royal Ascot winner subsequently. And I just thought that he was quite interesting. It's Michael Scudamore's gone up to join up with Lucinda Russell, but it's the first run for the horse since he's relocated up to there, and I'm fascinated to see if that change of routine and change of facility can bring about any improvement from this horse. And I think at the moment he's sort of 11.0 or something like that. So I thought he was quite interesting win and place just because of the switch of operation. And Lucinda Russell's also been going all right on the flat as well. I think she had a winner at Beverley in the last sort of week or so. So Coldwell win and place for me, 4:35 at York.
All right, and I will give you Say Hello in the 6:27 at Newmarket on nursery debut of a mark in the early 70s. I think that's fair enough. You go back to that debut run, it was very promising. It hasn't worked out on 2 starts since, but I think she's better than that. That's on Friday at Newmarket. Okay, we come on to the Matchbook Zero long shot, £20 win. The market will be live 1 hour before the first race. You're likely to get best odds. I've explained in the past as to why. Head over to Matchbook Zero for a win bet up to £20 on a horse at a big price. Mine is Spirit of Light in the 3 o'clock at Ascot at 67.0, maybe more. That's a massive price. And you two are looking at the sprint at York. Donn.
Yeah, Magical Spirit. I was going to put up Barrett Arrow. I thought you'd laugh at 6-1 shot. So yeah, Magical Spirit, for all the reasons outlined earlier, goes well at York, goes well on soft ground, and I think low draws are positive as well. I'm
not sure what the minimum long shot price is, but yes, we would have laughed you out off the podcast. Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, if yours comes in, Tom, that's going to be huge. But me, a little bit more conservative. Lucky Man in the 240 at York for Richard Spencer. Again, good York form, decent enough run on his second start of the season, and hopefully he can build on that for a trainer in form. No lays, so we're going to go straight into best bets, and then we're done. One per race here, so you've got a Trixie option for the listeners out there. If you want to get a Trixie, of course, you can do that on Matchbook. You can also do forecast now, remember. You may want to take advantage of that if there's a smaller price in there you want to get stuck into. Or you can do it in the handicaps and win big. My best bet's my Prospero for reasons I've already given in the York Stakes. Charlie, your best bet? Yeah, Jump Jockeys, Nunthorpe's, Speedicus for me, and then the 205 at York for David O'Mara, like I say, backing up quickly after an authoritative win at Doncaster. And Donn.
Yeah, Hookham and the King George for the older horses against the youngsters.
And I'm just looking at the 420 at Sandown because the Sports Elephant tweeted or sent us a message. Owen Burrows' 4-year-old record is excellent. He's obviously talking about, Hookham, or at least his older horses. And he's put up Wind Your Neck in. There you are. Big old price, 13.0 for Holly Doyle and David Evans in the 420 at Sandown today. That's us done. Thanks, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed that, and have a fantastic weekend. We'll chat to you again soon. Good luck in the King George. Bye-bye.